Right, so first off, she has a sword and it's really big. So that's the length of the blade. Sword, absolutely humongous, bigger than my arm just about. That's it compared to a Chaos Black can. This is what I use to spray all black items with primer, by the way. And the white cousin. Legs, they were fine. So those big 2 chunks I've got to fix up. We'll probably do that first. Torso, or bottom half of the torso. Now from E.S.M, the way they cut their lady models is really good. So check this out. Look how nicely that fits. Here's the other one. Like, that's just bliss. Also having, the cheeks separate from the torso means we get to get a perfect skin tone on this with a perfect blend with the shoe and this. So we paint these separate, so then that join, there's not going to be any paint overlap. It's just going to be utterly seamless. And this is something you want to keep in mind when you're chasing female models, especially if they have like this tight clothing join right next to skin. It is always better to check how the model's cut before you buy it and make sure that they're separate. Because if this was joined like this, that'd be fine. But then you have the massive hurdle of going in with a brush and getting a perfect line. Otherwise, if it's not perfect, you're gonna really notice every single little stint you have. So that's great. Also, there will be no mention of the camel toe in the comments, thank you. Also, super nice and clean. We have skin here as well as in between. I'm gonna have to do that. And a little bit of skin there and here as well. Now I believe this is supposed to be like a bit of a sleeve kind of over the skin. Not the leather parts here, I mean in between. So that's bare skin and then transparent, not transparent, but like as if like a black net is going over the skin. So we're gonna have to try and do something there. Same with in between here. That'll be good. And yeah, without further ado, we'll get some Milliput going and fill these, I think. And then we'll have to re-prime back over it. Now, Milliput. This is what it comes in. If you do model making of this sort, this stuff's essential. Just, if you haven't found a use for it yet, get some anyway. It is essential. So, you want to take one of each part. These are 2 separate compounds. They get included in a pack. One of each part. And you want equal of each part, or roughly equal. Right, and mix it together. Now, I was just reading the instructions as I was doing this, and it says mix for 5 minutes at least. Whenever something says to mix for this many minutes, asinine. No one's got fucking time for that. Like, just a can of this reckons shake for at least 3 minutes before spraying or whatever. No one's fucking doing that. We shake it for 10 seconds if you're lucky. Once it looks yellow, uniform, you can tell it's all mixed together. This will now, over the course of an hour, become hard like clay. And then if you leave it for like 5 hours, it becomes hard as a rock. Now you can use this to repair shit. which I've done multiple times, especially for bases. It's really easy. Or filling huge holes like this. Not gonna lie, I just wasted most of that because I just pushed it into the ethos of the leg, and it's now been lost to the void because I was yapping and not thinking. I'm just gonna leave that like that, to be honest. I'll come back later with a second lot, apply it, fix it up. Just kinda trying to stick it into the sides so it has something to cling to. It's kind of just getting pushed. This whole thing's hollow. Hollow your prints, by the way, if you're not doing that. If you're not doing that, what the fuck are you doing? And when we say hollow your prints, it's not because, oh, think of the resin you'll save. Like, no, we all want to print solid because it's like, then it feels solid, which is a really nice feeling. It's because the printer just can't handle it. You're gonna either fail or it's gonna have a layer line so fucking big that it's like impossible to fix. So we hollow the prints. Yeah, I'll be totally honest, I don't know how well this is gonna work. I didn't think it through, but you're not here to see a perfect plan executed to flawless fruition. You're here to witness my attempts at new things. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to do is just put something there. I'm gonna let it fully harden overnight because it's like midnight already. And then once it's hardened, I'll make up another batch of this. I'll be able to just push it on top, smooth it over, let it harden again. Bob's your auntie. You catch me? Zenithal, if you don't know, being applying white over black from an elevated position. So pretending the light source for the model is up here, and then the light is hitting downwards. That's what the white is supposed to represent, the light coming from up at the top. The zenith of the sun is like when it's at midday, whatever. Highlights down. That's why it's called a zenithal, or something like that. I don't actually know. So we don't cover everything. We're just mainly hitting from an elevated position. That's why it's still black under here and in between there, but very white up here because that's the top. So when I use my gun, I sprayed there a lot. We are now applying Warlord Purple from Vallejo, and that's going to go over pretty much everything, pretty much all the white essentially. And then we're going to be applying a transparent red in the shadows. So I'm going to rotate the piece this way, and I'm going to be shooting red downwards, so the opposite of a zenithal. And that will give us a little bit of a depth starter pack, I guess. And from there, we will then start layering on skin tones. These are the undertones. Lube your airbrushes, by the way. This is thinner. You can get these in big bottles like this, or little bottles, but you're gonna be using that much. Just get the big bottle. Right, we're doing transparent red This is for the underparts, not the zenith on top, the underparts. Everything that's black, we're now going to make red. So, top's pink, bottom's red. Right, while the pink dries, moving on to the torso here. These little things are silver, like metallic silver, which means we need to undercoat them in black. Right, so that took ages. This is the end result. It's looking pretty clean. I want to clean up a little bit in there, but otherwise we cut in pretty clean for the most part. I have to go over this again now that it's black. I'm going to use either silver or a chrome. I'll decide eventually. We're going to jump to something else first, but this isn't too bad. You do want to take the time to get the sides and the insides when you're doing this. Otherwise it will not look very good. So I'm going to go back in with white later on and fix that and in the circles a bit. And then we'll put some metal on. And we want to put the black before the metal always, because metal goes over best when put over the top of black. Right, onto the next layer of skin. I have mostly watered down salmon rose, and I thought that kind of looked a little too bright and pink. So I put a couple of drops of brown rose in, mix that up. Hopefully it's gonna work out nice. I put maybe too much in, I don't know. But we'll go over the skin and see how it looks. Right, we are onto the sword, or the scabbard handle, sorry. It's all white except for the bits in between the wrapping is supposed to be black. So in an attempt to do as least work possible, I'm going to use this liquid mask. Now this is jelly, or a type of gel that hardens very quick. So it's liquid, and then it will turn into a gel, and then you peel the gel off after you spray. I'm gonna try and be quick here. Alright, flicking it over. Bouncing back to some skin, this is how it currently looks after the last layer we did. You can still very clearly see the pink under that skin and the red, but we're getting closer to a skin tone. Now, on this layer, this is the layer before we add like a really powerful tone like this. That's going to actually make it look like skin. Here's where we want to try and add some pigmentation and some flavor under the skin. Other people do this differently. I'm doing things I haven't tried before. Today I'm going to try and add some veins. So I'm using this watercolor pencil. It's purple. Yeah, I got no idea, to be honest. It's a purple pen, and we're just going to be very gently just adding some veins just in the legs, not too many and not too pronounced, and we'll go from there. Also, I've been putting, every time I do like a big layer, I've been adding a satin varnish from the rattle cans, same shape as these, over the whole thing, and that's giving me a nice smooth surface that's protected to work with. Because if I accidentally scratch this, I don't want to be ripping the skin off, because I'm not just going to be ripping off the skin and I just paint the skin back on. I'm ripping off like 4 fucking layers that I've put down, and that is a problem. I don't know how you can see that, but I've actually added a red, diluted red, tapped slightly with a sponge, which I did off camera, just to add some red spots. There you go. Right, I've mixed up basic skin tone, watered it down quite a lot. We are moving on to the skin wash segment. This is optional. Yellow, red, blue skin wash. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if this is gonna work very well, but we're all about fuck around and find out here. So I'm going to be doing yellow over all the skin, then dotting it off with a paper towel, and then repeating with red, and then repeating with blue. This is gonna just add some more flavor to the skin. This is what the skin looks like after we put that layer on. You can still see the veins, but they're a bit too pronounced. I don't know how much you can see that. But yeah, veins are still a little too pronounced. So we'll have to fix that up. But you can still see it a little bit. You can still see a bit of the red abrasions under the skin as well. So that's good. And I'm pretty happy with the way I drew them on there. But yeah, we just need to blend them somehow. I'm figuring this out as I go, which is how I usually do things. So we're gonna start off with the yellow. Hopefully, this is from this point on, I can destroy the skin completely. Now this is kind of just to stain the skin. So this is really watered down sun yellow from Vallejo. You can use a different yellow, doesn't have to be this one. Just grab the most yellow looking yellow you got and make it like 95% water. And you want to do this pretty quick, so you want to cover it completely, and then you want to get your paper towel and dot it off before it fully dries. Okay, so this is probably too yellow to be honest, but that's a side by side of washed with yellow, unwashed. Again, it's probably too much, especially on the arse. Now doing the red wash. you're wondering what that was, this is alcohol shot out of an atomizer over the red, and it actually parts. I don't know if that's visible. It actually parts the red and like splits it, so it gives off the effect of blood vessels. Okay, current thoughts. I can see the details coming out, but I'm kind of worried when I put the next skin tone over if it's going to destroy everything. I got no idea. We'll find out. And moving on to the blue wash. After the red, I did satin varnish both of these, as well as all the other skin. And now we're doing the blue. We got a bit of spots of blue left on there, more than I would have liked. Hopefully when I go back over with the skin tone, we can clear a lot of that up and it just kind of blends in and looks like it's supposed to be there. A lot of hopes and dreams getting built off this model right now, not gonna lie. I'm gonna water this down just a little bit more, just in case. Right, onto the skin tone again. We got basic skin tone. Most of it is basic skin tone. And then a little bit of medium flesh tone. Right, moving on to the skin highlight section, I'm using just a couple of drops of the basic skin tone again, and then mainly light flesh and a lot of thinner. I don't want to go crazy with this. All I'm looking to do is hit the high points. So the top of this, the front of this a little bit, top of the cheek, maybe a little bit down there, a little bit there. Just the parts the light would hit the most. I don't want to do it too rough. Alright, we're doing the skin blended stocking part, and I already did the other one, but I used Beastie Brown. Could probably be any kind of brown. I'm just using a darker one here. I was having a big toss up about what would be the right color, but I think this one works. Doing some details on the face now. I actually went in, you can see a little bit of redness on the face. I've actually gone in with a pastel from one of these, using the red, and you just brush that onto a paper towel. And then you get a brush. I just used one of these black ones. And you dip, wipe most of it off. And then you just kind of stroke it. Almost like you're dry brushing it, but you're not. You're just stroking it on there gently. And it starts getting a little bit red. And that was just a nice little trick. I also, with my fingernails, scratched under the chin here. So we're too deep in to be fixing that up now, because I've got too many layers on there, so I'm just going to leave that as is. I did I didn't think I'd actually manage it, so I didn't film it, but I did manage to get some paint in on those teeth. Look how tiny that gap is. So I'm going to put a beauty spot, because she has like a mark right where that dot is evidently already actually. I'm actually going to put it right there. That's going to be like a little brown spot, and then I need to do the lips. I'm going to be using a bit of this, Orcish dermis. And I'm using Orcish dermis because the reference had just pretty light pink lips, so. Looking pretty good. Oh. And I think that'll do it. Okay, we're doing the metal rings around the back of the legs here. Okay, another day has passed. Before we go on to the next painting, I just want to show you where we're at. So I've glued the thighs into the torso and the legs onto the thighs. No, I just wanted to show you some flaws that I can't really fix from this point forward. So, inner leg, as you'll see, it's a bit blue. It's too blue. That's because the blue wash we did, we put not too much on, but there was too much pigment. So we needed to water it down more. And especially with the blue one, you must make sure it's at least more watery than you want it to be instead of more pigmented, because you can never get the pigment off. And that's what I've done here. So it's pretty faint, but it is noticeable. So there's blue all over the place there, and there's blue kind of here. At distance, it's not really visible, but yeah. Anyway, the back's pretty nice on both sides. It kind of, gives us the effect we're after. But yeah, we just went too crazy with that blue wash, and I scratched that by accident. And there's no fixing it at this point because I've got too many layers down. It would just look silly if I tried to patch it, so we didn't end up doing that. And we got to go back over the legs to fix up the metal. But other than that, it's looking pretty sweet. Oh, and the legs, this is just Vallejo gloss shot over the legs. I know I said I was going to do something with these other than just black, but just black and then gloss and you get this, and it looks pretty spectacular. So we ran with that. I just ran a mask very tightly against both of these seams and then just shot the whole leg with gloss, and that was it. So without further ado, we're going to get into the next segment. I'm going outside to use a rattle can, but just showing how I masked these hands. Some people hate masking and will use a brush to cover a larger area. I am the opposite. I hate using a brush when I can just spray it. So I masked. Now at the joint here, there's going to be a little bit of white left. When we take the mask off, that's fine. That'll be 2 minutes of going around with the brush, fixing it up, and it'll be peachy. So I'm going to go spray these now outside, just with a rattle can of Chaos Black, and they'll be good. Alright, we are now going to be doing the liquid mask on these back and front sections using this. Time to cut in around the mask. Pretty good. I'm just going to fast forward. I'm going to do the same thing to the top and just brush over the mask, which is going to be boring to see, so I'll skip past that. Now doing this, I'm going to be taking off all the layers. This should be somewhat satisfying, or it could be life-destroying. Let's find out. Oh yeah, that doesn't work out at all. Well, I'm truly destroyed. I got no idea what happened. Oh boy, man, that's just really something, huh? I got no idea what happened here, but this is completely ruined. I'm gonna have to rip it all up and do that whole thing again. Cool. It is now time to do the metal on whatever this is. I should have done this when it was just the torso, because now I gotta fling legs around with me, but such is life. Oh, this is gonna take a while, so I'm just gonna do a fast forward. That brings me to a close on this video. Now, I have skipped through huge portions of the model. I didn't really end up recording as much as I usually would, mainly because I just wanted to get this model out and finished. I kind of had it in my head, it was just going to be a quick model, I was just going to pump out, but I ended up sinking a fair bit of time into it. The most of the footage I didn't record is just tedium, there's nothing really to show you except, you know, sped up footage of me going over a tiny line 10 times. It just wasn't that important. So hopefully you still got something out of it. What can we improve on the model this time? The skin. Obviously, almost everything comes down to the skin with models like these. I think though it was a pretty good success. I think we can really pull some bullshit and, you know, make a new model much better next time we do skin. So we got too much blue wash, and that caused, you know, a bit of smearing that you couldn't really get off. We got too much yellow wash, and both of those things happened because they weren't watered down enough, which reinforces the fact that you should always have too little pigment rather than too much. Too little and you just need to put another layer on. Bob's your uncle. Too much, you fucked it, you can't ever take it off. So keep that in mind. You are coming along with me, learning as I'm learning. I'm just doing shit for the first time, you know, like a lot of you out there. I just like to take the time to try and do it really well the first time. I think that's a big difference you'll find in people that start out, you know, fresh in this hobby, and then they produce better results quicker. And it's because they're just taking the time to, you know, learn how to do something and then they're doing it, rather than just having a go, you know, and just going in buck wild, guns blazing, tits out, and hoping for the best. That just doesn't work when it comes to shit like this.
like the skin routine. I mean, I did a couple things out of order, I think, but I still had enough info from other stuff I've done, you know, to put something decent together, and that's what we got. But, you know, skin's one of those things where you can't just go at it blind and hope for the best, because there's 15 steps you have to take, and you got to take them in order. If you don't, it's going to look fucked. So if you're going to take anything, take that. Take the time to do the model properly. Take the time to make it clean. I'm going to do maybe some B-roll, or just show some shots once I finish yapping. I'm just waiting for the model to dry, and then I'm going to get some shots together and drop this video. I'm going to try and do maybe like 2 cool, badass, muscle, armor type models of some sort, and then a model with a lot of skin, like what we just did. Not because of Gooner bait, okay? Watch it. Because it's just good to keep up on how to do skin. It's good to keep it in practice. And you know, we're going to be doing a Bane model next, and that's gonna be a lot more in-depth than this one, because it's a much bigger project. There's a lot more detail. It's got a pretty large base with multiple pieces. This doesn't have a base at all. And that's gonna have a lot of skin, and it's a very different skin to what we just did, because it's like a roided out man with pulsating drugs flowing through his veins. Like, we're gonna have to figure that out too. I don't know how to do it, but anyway, I hope you learned something from this video, and if you have any critiques on how anything you saw here, you want to see something else that I'm not providing, please let me know in the comments. I try and do as much as I can to make these videos better every time. I'm really not good at this at the moment, and I'm trying. So I appreciate any comments you leave. I read them all. I read every comment on the Reddit post, the Facebook post, the Discords, the Patreon, whatever the fuck. I'm there. My eyes are on everything. So don't think I'm not seeing anything. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, if you did, to all 10 of you now, 20, I think we got 20 subs. It's pretty sick. Okay, and hopefully we get 100 in the next 5 models. Peace.
I know I said I was gonna do some sort of you know, showcase video to show off the final thing, but I did end up breaking this model essentially, so I'm just going to show you what exactly I did in trying to glue multiple pieces of this together at the same time and holding it together. It broke and everything went everywhere, so we lost 2 fingers, the ones that hold the sword specifically. So the sword sits funny now. It's not even supposed to sit like that. It's supposed to be more upright. We got glue all over the chest. I covered it up with a little bit of paint. All that white shit near the shoulder is from glue. I would have fixed all this up, but yeah, it was a catastrophe. Oh, and the feathers, I lost about like 8. You can't really see, but I actually painted black back over them. So instead of a fancy video, I consider this model a complete failure on my behalf. I'm just gonna show you around in a very unflattering style. I used a shit ton of this, by the way. I used this to prime between almost every layer on every part of this model. This is really good stuff, especially for the skin. Anyways, I apologize for the dog shit video, but this was a rushed video from the get-go. I will be giving a more in-depth working on the bane that I'm doing, and I hope you enjoy that video more than this shit one.